Are you thinking about starting a business? Perhaps you found a few options that seem to fit your personality, but you're not quite sure which one to pursue. Don't worry, that's a common thing between a lot of people. You've narrowed it down to two choices. One is a bit out of your budget, and the other one is like 25% in your budget. Perfect. Before you take the big plunge, here's an important consideration you need to take into account. The connection between the barrier to entry and the profit margins. Yes, those coveted profit margins we all want. You started a business and you dreamed about money falling from the sky. Come with me and let's explain how the level of competition and initial investment required can impact your profit margins and help you make an informed decision on which business to pursue and the level of correlation between high and low barrier to entry businesses as it relates to your profit margins. Let's get it. First of all, what is barrier to entry? This just means the hurdles that you have to jump before you can successfully open your doors. Yes, this is things like education, capital, experience, real estate, even access. As we all know, starting a business is not an easy task, especially when it comes to the financing and setting up of the infrastructure. But you have to wonder what the effects of the barrier of entry is to the profit margins of a business. Let's take a look at this graph. As you can see, the business with low barrier to entries normally have lower profits, compared to the ones with high barrier to entries have higher profits. This may seem counterintuitive at first, but when we dive deeper, we can see that a low barrier to entry means that there's a lot of competition in the market, leading to lower profits. There's a lot of people in that area doing the same thing and you can't quite grasp all of the market share. On the other hand, we see high barrier to entry. This means less competition is harder to get into, so there's more place for market share, which normally leads to higher profits. To better understand the impact of the barrier to entry on profit margins, let's have two examples. One, the food and beverage industry and the beauty industry. A low barrier to entry business can be seen as a food truck, where there's a lot of food trucks in the market in one particular area selling the same food at the same price. There may be lower profits because it's saturated. On the other hand, if you have a fine dining restaurant in a nice affluent area or a high value franchise on a high busy highway corner, which means that there are fewer competition in the market, higher barriers to entry, which normally leads to higher and sustained profits. That same example in the beauty industry would be independent makeup artists. There are so many independent makeup artists selling their services at a low cost. Sally might be selling her thing at 20% lower, then Nikki comes in and sells it at 25% lower, and then it goes down and down and down until there's no profit to be had and everyone leaves the business. As a result, there are many independent makeup artists in the market, leading to high competition and lower profits. On the other hand, the high barrier to entry may be seen in the beauty industry, where luxury skincare brands require a few things: research and development, marketing, product manufacturing, logistics. All these things are higher barrier to entry, which leads to less competition and more profits. So if you're planning to start a business, you should consider the barrier to entry and its effect on your profit margin. A lower barrier to entry business may seem attractive at first, but it may lead to low profits over time. Plus, it might have high competition, which means burnout. Eventually, you might just stop loving that business because it doesn't love you back. On the other hand, a high barrier to entry may be stressful. There's a lot of investment, there's a lot of planning, there's a lot of risk without knowing if it's gonna pay off. But in the long run, if you can sustain this business, it has higher profits in the long run. To summarize, the level of competition and the initial investment required can have a significant impact on your profit margins in any industry. A low barrier to entry may lead to low profits due to high competition, while a high barrier of entry may lead to more initial investment but higher profits in the long run. Here are 5 examples of high or low barrier to entry businesses. If you want a more extensive list, you can click in the bio for your free ebook. Yes, it's completely free. We're not selling anything. Make no mistake, a low barrier to entry business can evolve and scale to great profitability. and a high barrier to entry business can crash and burn. It all comes back to your secret sauce in your execution. This is what makes the business plan good. Remember, you are paid in proportion to the problems you solve and the amount of times you can consistently solve these problems. We spoke about profit margins. If you would like to see a video on the shocking truth of why CEOs are paid last, you can click on the next video coming up. My name is Sinclair Fleming. Now go take action.